and get right into the MSP LinkedIn framework that actually works. That's why we're all here today. You've probably seen me post on LinkedIn. You've seen our emails obsessively, probably. And we're going to talk specifically today about how you can actually start generating leads through LinkedIn. So this applies for managed services providers, but it also actually telecommunications companies, IT businesses, really any B2B company can apply this and be successful. So let's get right into it. I'm going to go over a couple of ground rules here in just a minute and explain to you if you've never been on one of my webinars before, I'll explain to you who I am so that you're not wondering why is this girl talking about how to grow my business with LinkedIn. So I'm Laura Johns, like I said, founder and CEO of the Business Growers, and we help managed services providers and IT businesses generate predictable revenue month over month with our growth programs. I've served in telecommunications for the last 20 years, both in wireless at first and then as chief marketing officer of a managed services provider for 8 years before I started the Business Growers. One of my passions is working with managed services providers because if they're in a phase that maybe they don't have a full dedicated marketing team or need support around certain parts of their marketing, that's what we love to do, and we love to help organizations do that. So you did come into this call muted today. I do have a couple of ground rules I'll go over. You did come into this call muted today, but I do love participation. So if you want to add something, I'll pause throughout and you can just speak up, give folks opportunity to talk. But I would just love for this 1 hour, you've blocked your hour for this. You are invested. Let's close our tabs. We are all busy. There are lots of fires to put out. I know how it goes as a business owner, but turn off the cell phones. Give us your undivided attention. The other thing I'm going to ask for you to do is to put your participant hat on. We're going to do some strategy and discussion, and you may already have some of this conquered fully, and some of it you may not. And if you do, that's great. But I would love for you to put your participant hat on, dig in, see what you can learn, and how you can share this for the next hour. If you are willing to do that, put your participant hat on. Please type the word participant in the chat. And this will be very interactive. So would love for you guys, again, to speak up and chat with me. Put the word participant in chat if you're willing to put on your participant hat today. Thank you. Awesome. Grace is going to drop a link in the chat right now. You'll see our YouTube subscription link. This is full of tips. You can see I've started doing YouTube Shorts, which is just little small snippets of tips for businesses like yours. So if you are interested in getting this webinar and other resources through YouTube, be sure you subscribe using that link that she sent you. And while you're here, probably a lot of different reasons. I listed a couple of them here. If you're a managed services provider, telecom business, and you're like a lot of the founders that I talked to, LinkedIn probably feels more like a struggle than a tool that you can actually use to generate leads. It's another thing you have to spend time on in addition to the dozens of things that you should be investing your time in. And so you may be here today because you don't have a system for consistent lead generation. You don't know even how to use LinkedIn as a tool for nurturing and getting new business and new leads. You spent money on marketing potentially in the past that led to nowhere, or you're just annoyed at my emails that I'm sending you all the time. So you're like, let me just attend one of these things and see what this girl is talking about. So if it's any of the above, I'm glad that you're here. Real quick, let me go back to this slide. We know that LinkedIn has decision makers, but a lot of times we are haphazardly showing up on LinkedIn. So what we're going to talk about today is how to really turn your haphazard, I call it sometimes spitball approach, into an actual strategy that's going to turn into business. If you have ever been a part of one of my webinars, you have seen these slides that I'm about to show you. I'm going to show them every time probably because I think it's a really good level set to remind us that what we're talking about today is really just a very small piece of a whole, thorough marketing solution. And, I like to make sure I drop this truth bomb that your future client is probably not waking up thinking, I need a new IT provider today, every day. That's not, typically about 100% of your total buying population, 3% is ready to buy at any given time. So it's your responsibility to take them from completely unaware to ready to buy. And what we do with the right marketing mix is constantly provide opportunities throughout their decision making to, one, make them aware of their problem, and then more specifically, make sure you're in front of them all the time, as often as possible, so that when they are in that 3% and ready to make a decision, that they pick you, right? And then this slide is important because what I do these webinars on last month was email. You can go to the YouTube and look at our latest webinar on email marketing specifically. This one's on LinkedIn, but there, as you can see, are a lot of components, and it takes a lot of work to stay in front of your clients at all times. So LinkedIn is a wonderful way to do that, and we're going to talk about that right now. If you're ready to go, ready to talk about how powerful LinkedIn is and can be for your business, type yes in the chat for me. And we're going to get a framework today that you can quite literally start applying immediately. So who has tried, give me a 1 in the chat if you have tried LinkedIn marketing before in some capacity, just a 1 in the chat, just so I kind of know who's even tried, who's dabbled in. And you might have a different definition of what what's LinkedIn marketing, what's not. So just a little level set. LinkedIn is where your buyers are. If you're selling telecommunications, IT, or managed services providers type services, LinkedIn is 100% where your buyers are. This is where IT decision makers sit, business owners. They're here daily. And I love this platform because, quite frankly, they're not on this platform to be entertained. So you're not competing with that. In other platforms, you do have that component where they're really going for a social fix. In LinkedIn, people are going to take care of business. So you'll see, on this slide, 61 million decision makers are active on LinkedIn today, 40% engaged daily, and it is the absolute number one B2B platform for lead generation. So they're here to network, they're here to do research, and they're here to solve business problems, which gives us going in a leg up in terms of what we're investing our time on. But today we're going to talk about profile optimization being number one. Your profile should attract leads, not just list your resume. We'll talk about that in a minute. 2, content and engagement. People need to see you as the go-to expert or authority in your industry before they buy. And then outbound and automation, which is that strategic outreach at scale that drives these predictable leads. So we're going to talk first about your personal brand on LinkedIn. Here's why it matters. This is Bob, our sales manager. He is clearly not positioned and ready for doing some business on LinkedIn. But if you want leads to come to you, you need to build trust, stand out, and establish authority. So I'm going to do a little exercise here in a minute that's going to help figure out how you can, I call it optimize, but how you can, in just a really short period of time, do the work to make sure that you've got a really well thought out profile that's optimized, that brings people in when they visit or look at you, that has a clear headline, a great about section, and a good featured section if you have resources to do that. This can be a little tricky because I know all of us are here because we want to grow our businesses. But if you are a business leader, a sales leader, a CEO, we're going to talk about specifically how to show up personally on LinkedIn. And the best way to do that is make sure that your profile is top notch. So if you can, in just a minute, I'm going to ask you either take out your notes section on your laptop or take out a pen and paper, because we're actually going to do this together, do a little exercise together. Your personal profile, if you're a business leader, business owner, CEO, founder, president, whoever you are, as you think about what your personal profile should include, here are the things that it needs to do. It needs to build trust.
On your street.
It needs to attract the right customers, differentiate you from your competitors, make sure that you're showing authority or becoming a thought leader, and of course, generate business growth. So the first thing we need to do is a little exercise. Here's the opportunity for your notepad or your notes section. We're actually going to create your unique value proposition that you can today go insert in your about section of your LinkedIn profile. So give me a yes if you're ready to do this exercise. I need to see some yeses before we get started. Make sure everybody's got their notepads. Oh. Okay, great. Let's get started. Okay. I first want you, and I don't want you to think about LinkedIn at all right now. I truly want you just to think about these things, okay? List your key strengths as a brand. What are your key strengths? Technical knowledge, communication skills, problem-solving abilities, your key strengths, or what sets you apart. Okay? We're actually going to do it right, this exercise right here. So I'll go ahead and now we want to know, who do you primarily serve? And you can see the example here, your target customer. Who do you primarily serve? I help who? Just take a minute. Target audience. You should all know this. If you don't, we got bigger challenges, right? Okay. The next thing is, what is the main benefit that you provide for them? And I like to call that the desired outcome, because they all have the desired outcome that should tie to that main thing that you do for them. So what is that main thing? The person that you help, and what do you help them do? The main thing that you help them do. Okay. Take a minute. Target audience, the main benefit or result that you provide for them. And then this is the part that I think we miss sometimes when we are thinking about our unique value proposition as an organization is, or as a person, really, if you're leading your organization, what is your unique approach or your specific method? Or, sometimes we give it a name. I love it when you give it a name. We call it No Grow Scale here at the Business Growers. What is that unique thing that differentiates you, your specific expertise that you bring to the table? And if you don't know this is a good opportunity for you to kind of think, okay, I don't have anything that makes me different. We got to figure that out, right? Okay. Target audience, their desired outcome, your unique method or approach. And then here we go. Again, what sets you apart? Deep understanding of your local market, innovative bundling options, long-term strategizing. What do you do? Again, differentiation. Your unique approach, differentiator. If you have a name for your unique approach, even better. If you don't have a name, it's a good opportunity to maybe create a name for it. Really makes you look like you do something different. And then write it down. This is your unique value proposition. I help blank achieve blank by blank, utilizing whatever your key differentiator is. So if you need a minute to kind of go back and look through this, do that. But for the sake of time, and you can go back and watch the recording, this is your unique value proposition. And then here's where you put it. Okay. You can do that today. So if you didn't have a unique value proposition before today, you have one now, or you know how to build one, go put it on your LinkedIn profile so that somebody could very easily and quickly see how you can help them, right? Okay, this is going to be a mindset shift for a lot of people, because a lot of people have a LinkedIn network that is full of their buddies, which there's nothing wrong with having a lot of buddies connected to you on LinkedIn. But your LinkedIn network should be filled with prospects and ideal buyers, not just your peers. Growing your network on LinkedIn isn't just about sending requests to people that you know. It's about targeting decision makers in your ideal audience. You can do this by looking for IT directors. You can do search. I mean, you can literally go to the very top search bar and do a search and find the people that you are looking for. Or you can use, and I'm going to list a couple of tools that you can use to do this, software tools that you can do for automation. We're actually going to be talking about automation here in a little bit. You can use Duck Soap, Expandi, EXPANDI, Dripify, Phantom Buster. There's one called LinkedIn Helper or Copilot to further segment the right people and then start doing connection requests. We're going to break down how to do both, but I'd be curious, who is actively, type in me, if you are actively adding ideal clients to your network every week on LinkedIn. When I say ideal clients, I don't mean buddies. And maybe if your buddies are your ideal clients, that's great, even better. But type in the word me if you are actively adding ideal clients weekly, every week. Okay. So again, going from that mindset shift on LinkedIn to this is what's going to separate you from other people that are trying to sell stuff on LinkedIn. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you. Take your mind away from I've got to get leads on LinkedIn today to I need to serve someone today on LinkedIn. I need to serve my ideal buyer today on LinkedIn. That's where you start separating the type of content that you're posting, and it goes from being salesy to being serve minded, because you know better than anyone else out there about your business and the value that you can bring to your customers because you've seen that value in client testimonials and the people that you work with, right? So, what game changing things are you doing for those customers? And let's take that information and go serve people on LinkedIn. We'll talk about outreach. So here's the type of outreach that starts real conversations. Again, some of those tools that I mentioned earlier, you can go back and watch the recording. They are great opportunities for you to connect with people and then automate messages. People hate being pitched in the first message, so you definitely don't want to start with something like, hey, do you need IT services? But use a more natural conversation starting message. You want to build sequences with automation tools that do this at scale that can lead to higher response rates, real conversions. You want to keep them value driven, curiosity based. Asking them questions is great, and then just get something, get a conversation going. Engagement, advanced engagement. So we all know that we can go and comment on people's profiles, and that's a great opportunity. If they post on their own, especially if they're an ideal customer of yours, ideal persona, go comment. That does take time. Great if you have an assistant who can do that or a marketing team member who can do that. But LinkedIn isn't just for sending direct messages. The biggest shift that we're seeing in this industry is people who really do serve their audience with content. So here are 3 engagement strategies that you can use that I really like. Newsletters is one. So you know better than anybody else. And of course, there are some great writing tools out there that can help you do this. If you take your brain and dump it somewhere, you can get some really good content or a good starting point for content that way. But creating a LinkedIn newsletter, LinkedIn really helps with putting your newsletter in front of people so that they will subscribe, that you're not having to manually do. It suggests it for other people. So putting out a newsletter on whether it's cybersecurity tips, IT compliance, cloud solutions, whatever it is that you're the expert on, you could be sending a weekly or monthly newsletter. And the thing that I love about newsletter, if you look at the right hand side of this slide, you will see that LinkedIn actually sends your newsletter via email. You don't have to do it. LinkedIn does it. They send your newsletter via email to all of your subscribers. So they're not having to get an email from you. They're getting an email from LinkedIn. So I just got one from Forbes recently. So I put it here for you to see. But inbound leads will start to happen when you are serving and engaging constantly. So if you have the newsletter, opportunity, you've got good content that you can share if you're already sharing it elsewhere, just throw it into a LinkedIn newsletter. Great opportunity to do that. Also, polls and articles. Those come straight from your profile as a founder. Engage your audience with polls, things that that they might not. Ask them questions. Don't make them too tricky. But if there's a trending IT topic, if there is a big company that gets hacked, if there's something specific going on that's relevant, polls right in that moment. Articles are great. And you can actually, whenever you go to post, when you click the post button on LinkedIn, you'll see write an article, and you can actually write an article and then distribute that on your profile. So you're adding value, adding authority, adding thought leadership. And then if there are some really big players in your industry or really big companies that pique your interest, that you feel like, hey, a lot of people that are my ideal customer are probably engaging with this company or person, make sure that you share key industry leaders' posts so that you're not only helping them out, but people are engaging in that post, and you show that you either agree or disagree. So utilizing reposting and commenting on things is a great way to amplify your engagement. Also, this is one thing a lot of people aren't doing. I'd be interested. Put a one in the chat if you've ever gone to LinkedIn groups and looked up other groups that your ideal customer might be in. They're everywhere. Look at some of these. There are great, and in events, a lot of people do LinkedIn live events. There are great opportunities for you to go find the people who are buying from you and connect with them. Hey, I saw you on this LinkedIn live event, or hey, I see you're in so and so group. Would love to connect with you. A lot of these people are already in these LinkedIn groups, so it's a little bit of a low hanging fruit. And what's great about them is you can go in and contribute. People are discussing pain points that they're having. They might already be having a conversation that you have the answer to. Great opportunity to jump in there and start commenting, because especially if it's an interesting topic and multiple people are commenting on it, everyone's going to see that and see that you're the expert and the authority. So great opportunity to get traction. Also, if you're interested and willing, I really like this for this industry, is doing live events or webinars, digital events, things like that. LinkedIn Live, do a LinkedIn Live with a Q&A, and that gets you in front of your ideal buyer. So a couple of great opportunities to do that. And then Sales Navigator. Give me a one in the chat if you are using Sales Navigator today. Let's see if I see any folks use. I'm trying to look at two screens at the same time. Okay, good. We got some people using Sales Navigator. That's good. So we use LinkedIn Sales Navigator to create a list of key decision makers. The great thing about LinkedIn, again, people are typically going to LinkedIn for business, not for entertainment. So the good thing is you're going to be able to segment by title, which is awesome. And you can track with Sales Navigator who's posting, who's engaging, and then you can use an automation tool like Dripify, Copilot, some of those that I brought up before, to send follow-ups to those that are showing interest. So great tools to use. You definitely want to make sure that you're utilizing automation. And then here's kind of, people are like, how long if I'm using a tool like this, an automation type tool on LinkedIn, how long does it take? If you're using the right copy and content and you have an optimized profile and you posted frequently, that's one big thing is, hey, Laura, I'm reaching out to people on LinkedIn and they're not responding to me. Well, if you haven't posted or done anything relevant or served your audience in months and months, there's definitely going to be an issue there because your profile's not ready to begin that type of outreach. So first things first, optimize your profile, begin outreach. Then you'll kind of start seeing in these tools, if you kind of look here, you'll be able to identify who's engaging through these automation tools, which is really cool. And then who to spend your time on. That's the low-hanging fruit. And then you'll start getting inbound leads from content. And you will need to manually respond. I mean, that's kind of part of it. You are going to have to manually respond to people, especially with that automation that are responding to you. But the good thing is you can send a connection request with a really quick note. You can send through automation a follow-up note once they have accepted the request. So, it doesn't happen overnight, but this is kind of what you can start seeing when you're doing automation right. I'm going to stop for just a second and ask if anybody I'm actually going to stop my share for a minute. Let's talk about what we've discussed so far. Has anybody got any questions? You can unmute. No questions? Is anybody doing this successfully?
I actually have a question on Sales Navigator.
Yeah.
How do I go about automating it? Because right now I'm doing it manually. When I get my list into Dripify, I try to automate it through Dripify, but how would I do that from LinkedIn? Would I do that individually
You're gonna have to use a tool, an automation tool.
Okay, I see.
That LinkedIn Navigator is really good for segmenting, deciding who your audience is, that type of thing. But to be able to do automation, you're going to have to do it through Dripify. I believe that's correct. Grace, correct me if I'm wrong. Grace is on the call too, and she actually runs our automation.
Okay, so the way to do it is to
Yeah.
Dripify. Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. All right. So here are some of the common LinkedIn mistakes that we're seeing. Number one is just being kind of inward focused on LinkedIn, and I consider a weak profile being a profile that's all about you. Obviously, we want to position ourselves as a leader. We want to be doing things like articles and newsletters to create content, and it's hard to do that without, kind of making it about your business. But you really need to, instead of, pointing everything back to you personally or you as a person, we want to make sure that we are looking at things with that mindset shift of how can I serve, not just trying to get a meeting booked. People can spot that from a mile away. Also, just these, cold DMs, spamming instead of starting real conversations. LinkedIn is a place where if you really want to make traction, you want to start real conversations. You don't want to start with making it about you. If you're not targeting, and we just mentioned LinkedIn Sales Navigator, a great opportunity to target there. You can actually upload lead lists to do automation. So if you have a good solid lead list of who you want to go after, you can do that and use automation that way. And another great thing is you upload a lead list and you can say, hey, I want every title at this company, or anybody who might influence that buying decision is actually going to be somebody that I would suggest you want to reach out to and connect with. And the beauty of LinkedIn is even if they only accept your connection request and don't respond to anything you say, now they are seeing all of your content. So if you are serving well and producing really good content, then they're still going to be able to see your content and then potentially later engage with you. Mistake number 3 is just, targeting all the wrong people. Mistake number 4 is posting the wrong content, posting things that, honestly, in our industry, a lot of times we get way too technical. If your buyer is an IT director, then potentially that's the right type of messaging, something that's going to help make their life easier, give them a less stressful job, talk about how you can take some of their pain away. But in some cases, your buyer is a business owner. So, you got to think about really specifically, and we do a lot of persona work, brand messaging work to identify what is their real pain point to make sure that we are dialed in on that before we start posting content. You don't want to be posting too technical, content that's too technical. And then kind of going back to automation is great, but when they start responding, you want to make sure you're really in that inbox. And if you don't have the capacity to do it, don't make them go weeks and weeks without a response. Get somebody in your inbox, give somebody your password, make sure that there's an opportunity for real engagement. And remember, you're starting a conversation. You're not necessarily trying to sell all the time. And then the number 1 LinkedIn mistake is giving up too soon. Most of us in this industry, unless you got somebody who is totally down or things are not working and they need somebody fast, a lot of buying decisions in this industry take 6 to even sometimes upwards of 18 months. LinkedIn is going to do more with your profile and with your content if you are more engaged. These social media networks are smart and they want to put your content, if you're engaging and using it frequently, then you will be more visible on LinkedIn. But if you're expecting instant results, you're going to get frustrated. So you have to commit. Is LinkedIn something that I want to show up on? Is LinkedIn somewhere that I want to spend my time? I think it is a worthy opportunity, but not necessarily something that you want to get into unless you're willing to put the time into it, if that makes sense. And then Grace is going to put this in the chat. This is actually a shorter webinar than usual, so I'll give some of your time back in the day unless you have questions. But to make some of this easier, I've actually compiled it into one PDF for everyone and have the ultimate LinkedIn lead generation checklist for MSPs. Just applies for any telecom IT business, but you can go in and you can kind of check through and say, okay, what do we have? What do we not have? What do we need to get started on? And it mentions some of these tools in the PDF as well. So you can go right there. Grace is putting that in the chat. You can go get that checklist today and have access to this webinar as well as soon as the recording will be shared. Any questions? That was kind of the quick and dirty of LinkedIn and LinkedIn automation. You're welcome, Tom. Any questions? Y'all are a very quiet crowd today. It's not even the end of the month yet. Everybody's quiet. Well, thank you for attending. I appreciate everyone being on today. If you have any questions, you know my email because I'm sending you emails all the time. So don't hesitate to reach out to me. Would love to engage and chat more with you. And don't forget to look me up on LinkedIn. If you haven't already connected with me, I'm Laura Johns. You'll see me on LinkedIn. I do all of these things to engage with my ideal buyer and hope that you do the same. Thanks so much for attending today.